Hi, this is Mrs. Lunsford, and I'm going to take you through a tutorial on how to draw one of the light bulbs in our still life setup. The first thing I would do is just lightly draw and get the drawing correct of the light bulb, paying attention to making sure that the light bulb is actually round, and you may want to draw an axis through the entire light bulb and light bulb um, holder to make sure that everything is symmetrical. Sometimes turning your paper a different direction to check it can also be helpful. Once you have the drawing as you like it, take your kneadable eraser and lighten up your drawing to the point where you can still see it, but just so um, no visible outlines are going to be um, in the way. First thing I did was I noticed that there's a lot of dark values in the light bulb itself, which is something that you may not think of. So the first thing I did was I started to build up my dark values where I thought they belonged. In my opinion, they belong along the perimeter of the light bulb, not quite going all the way to the edge, but somewhere between the middle and the outside edge. I started to continue to build up my darker values, and I was really aware that I wanted to reserve the center of the light bulb for the glowing filament itself. I continued to build up the dark values, and I noticed that underneath the light bulb on the underneath side, it seemed like that really is where the most of the darkest values were kind of living. I continued that around, continuing around until the entire light bulb was just filled up with what I deemed to be just kind of general middle to dark gray tone values. Again, I left the center of the light bulb completely the white of the paper because I really want to make sure that that does appear to be the light source. I then took a kneadable eraser and a stick eraser and I started to do some kind of reverse drawing to add some details. Um, I took the kneadable eraser and I lightened up the very outside edge of the light bulb because if you notice, it gets brighter towards the very outside edge of the light bulb itself. I also took my stick eraser and I started to kind of draw and pull out some highlights, reflections, and streaks that I'm seeing, and I cleaned up also that inside filament. I continued to do that, and then I started to even add further details and adding further areas where I thought could be cleaned up, or I just started to notice where I needed more dark values, and I continued to add dark values throughout the entire process. I then began to build up a value that represented the background information, and what that does then is it really starts to define that outside edge of the light bulb, and you can really start to see how that light bulb does appear to glow when you have that really bright light value that creates the edge of the light bulb in contrast with that darker background. Continued to do that. I sort of briefly, just kind of quickly, I did a little bit of value in the holder for the light bulb itself, but I just continued through to the very end, making sure that I kept adding values. I don't know if you're noticing, but I sort of drew back in with a dark line some of the filaments and the smaller details. And then I also went around with my pencil and I cleaned up some of the highlighted areas and I made those look a little bit more defined. And if you're noticing, I just kind of kept building up and adding darker values as I went. So um, basically, you're just going to be using a lot of contrast. Pay attention to where it needs to be pure white. Don't be afraid to use your erasers to help you. And then this last slide, I think you can kind of see the completed light bulb, and you're seeing also some of those details that I did draw back in there, kind of in that filament area. So that's the light bulb. Good luck.